Okay, if you're seeing this, it means this run went somewhere, but this is Need for Spirit Drink and Drive Simulator. This is an absolutely trash shovelware game. And why am I speedrunning it? Because I have some kind of sick fantasy and I love trash shovelware games for some reason, and I love the idea of trying to speedrun them. Okay, so this game essentially boils down to a driving sim, where you drive to a location and your car feels like it's constantly driving on ice regardless of what you're driving in. As you can see here, I'm going at no speeds whatsoever and still drifting quite heavily. You then arrive at your location, pick up the alcohol, partake in a lot of the alcohol, and try to get back to the party event location before the timer runs out at the top. And essentially that's the whole premise of the game. There are 4 levels to go through. This sort of swamp level, then you have a desert level, a forest level, and finally for lack of a better word, a Russian highway level. And yeah, that's the game. The game is super buggy and very not optimized as well. We literally have to run the game on medium settings for it to function correctly. If we run it on high, it doesn't function correctly at all and things glitch out and objects just don't load. And if we run the game on potato settings, which is the other setting you can possibly choose, you have less than a meter distance in front of you before objects actually begin to load. So you're constantly just driving into obstacles that you can't see. Outside of that, the game has a ton of soft locks that are just horrendous. This one being one right here. If I don't get enough speed, I will soft lock here. Nope, that's fine. Just due to poor programming, more than anything. And yeah, that's all bundled up with a timer which is fairly generous in the first 2 levels, but after that the timer gets extremely tight. To the point where my second place run of this actually finished the last level on the journey back with 4 seconds remaining, and I believe the world record holder finished it with 8 seconds remaining. Now, what wastes a huge amount of time is the fact that there are invisible walls in this game as well that will soft lock you, and there are a bunch of just random bits of jagged terrain that don't even render properly that will also soft lock you. So it is really about knowing exactly where you're going at all times, and sometimes you can't prevent that at all. Sometimes the terrain loads, sometimes it doesn't, meaning that sometimes you'll just hit something that didn't exist. And you can see the car likes to jump up like that as well. Outside of that, there's no real shortcuts we can take. This is going to be the one exception right here as I say that. But for the most part, there's invisible walls all through the water in most of the shortcut areas, so you really just don't bother taking them. It's far too risky, and the terrain is not flat in the water either, so you can just get soft locked by getting a wheel stuck. Your wheels have a huge tendency to clip into basically any object, and once they clip in, they don't really clip. That was nearly an example right there. Once they clip in, they don't clip out easily, so... And most of the time you end up sort of just, having to restart this section. There are no checkpoints outside of getting to the location and getting back, so if you soft lock with like less than 10 meters to go in the actual objective, then you start the whole level again. We estimate what we'd call a perfect run of this, which would mean not getting a single restart in any level. We estimate that to be around the 65-minute mark. So the fact that the world record is 1 hour 49 shows you how likely you are to get soft locked, especially in the later levels. Level 3 comes to mind as a big one that has a lot of soft locks. Level 2 is my nemesis, the desert theme level, but level 3 is probably the worst level in the game. I just suck at level 2 for some reason. And I think that's pretty much all I can say about this absolute train wreck of a game. Outside of the fact, for some reason, I just love train wreck games. I think they're such such an interesting idea to take a game that was either built for a quick buck or built as someone's first project or just built as a... Oop, I went the wrong way here, but that's alright, we can go around this way. Just built as something that was never meant to be taken seriously in speedrun and try to speedrun it and find all of the shortcuts possible. And play it as well as we can. Yeah, this one is definitely one of those ones that was slapped together in Unity in a couple of days. I don't think the level creator had any real care, sorry, the game designer had any real care or expectation of this game outside of maybe selling it a few times because of the name is funny. And let me make this perfectly clear, if it's not already, I do not condone drink driving at all. This is just a game. This is not an advertisement for drink driving. But if you're going to watch this game halfway through anyway, you can see how much this game is not an advertisement for drink driving. Cool. There is my first split. 3.3 seconds. That's alright. After some litres of beer. So, thankfully this drunk effect is not... There's a fly buzzing around me, it's really annoying me. That could cause me to crash then, because I was focusing on it more than anything else. Thankfully, yeah, this one is... in terms of the scale of the effects, this drunk effect is basically nothing. Oh, that was nearly my first soft lock of the run. This one just spins your camera a bit. I think the level creator didn't want to turn the game creator. I keep calling level creator. The game creator didn't want to turn people off too early. But essentially, this is very tame to what happens in the later levels. This is just a bit of camera blur, and I don't even see the camera blur working correctly at this point. So I think the game's glitched and stopped showing the drunk effect for a bit. There it goes. It feels like it's kind of getting back, but it's just basically a fishbowl. And for those also wondering why I'm not playing on a controller, these kind of games would be much better on a controller. The game is so poorly programmed that you can't. Essentially, you can control it on a controller, but you can't control the camera, meaning that you would still have to hold the controller in one hand and then you'd have to control the mouse in the other hand, because that's the only thing you can use to control the camera. You could play in locked camera mode, which always sits directly behind the vehicle, but that is a really bad way to play, especially in the later levels. This fly is driving me insane. But especially in the later levels, you will not be able to see obstacles until you're basically on top of them, or you may not even be able to see them at all. And sometimes the obstacles just are not in plain view if you've just got the camera locked. Just being a little careful through these Solon gates. We've got plenty of time in this first level, so that's not a concern. What I don't want is a soft lock sending me back and losing 3 minutes. Please go away, fly. For the love of golly gosh. Now it's on my face. Welcome to the Australian summer. There is just flies galore. Okay, so what else do I have to talk about this game? I mean, there's not much else I can really talk about this game. Essentially, it's a 4-level game. Each level has its own vehicle, except for level 1 and 4, so share the same vehicle. This is probably, out of all the cars, this is the best handling one. The handling only gets worse as we go through. Initially, we thought it was just our imagination, but after some testing from myself and the other player of this game, it is definitely the handling of the other cars that is really, really bad. Almost got lost there for a second. Didn't think where to go. It's really bad. This is probably the worst level in terms of direction. I seem to get a little bit more lost in this level than anyone else. I mean, level 3 is not great for it either, but at least level 3 there's traffic cones anywhere and there's a general sense. This level has intentional other paths that just lead nowhere that they try to get you to take. And as you can imagine, with this kind of game, I don't exactly want to be playing it that often that I memorise every single part of the level. I've got a general layout of all the levels. So like this one, we go up here, we go straight, we go across a bridge, and we turn into the house itself. Go here, across this bridge, and then we turn into the house itself. And we want to avoid the soft lock near the house. There is essentially flies are everywhere today. There is essentially that rock, that mound there that's sticking out that I crashed into that can soft lock you coming back for some reason. And here is the only part of the level that has changed on the return. There is a ramp built over the house that we originally jumped down. Outside of that, this level is basically identical to the first time we ran through. Oh, I picked a bad side to go to. That was really bad. There's a random bit of metal that sticks out there and it can soft lock you. It can go click into your car and then your car is unable to move. We want to come around here and that's nice and smooth. Okay. So basically the premise of the first level, we do want to go obviously fast. That's the objective of the speedrun, but we want to. We've got plenty of time. Like we've got an extra, I think it's like 2 minutes on the return trip, 1 to 2 minutes. So we can take things a little easy, especially in this salon gates, which again, if you clip into, you're not getting out of, and you have to restart the whole level from the drunk effect stage 1. Okay, but things are going well now. We've only got about 3 more areas that we can actually get completely locked up on, but we will see how that goes. Okay, that was a much better run back. Still not over till we actually get in that party door there, mainly because you get locked right at the end, but there we are. So that's great. 16-second turnaround. Alright, so this is the first one where I struggle a lot. I struggle in this level. I just find the drunk effect. It is definitely not the worst effect. But it is the one that messes with me the most, and I find this level utterly ridiculous. This is just, I don't like the bridges in this level. I think they are designed on purpose to trip you up. Thankfully that tank barrel was not solid. Yeah, essentially this is meant to be, according to the story's lore, Afghanistan on July 4th. And it is not a pretty level at all. It is just desert, the same one shrub and the occasional stop sign. Tank and jeep and tent. And then you've got just stone ramps and bridges and some oil drilling to have a shot at America, I guess. I'm not really sure. But essentially it is a very boring level, and it is the longest level, I think, out of all of them, and I tend, unfortunately, to just get a little bit complacent on these long levels, and then I'll end up falling or clipping into a bridge on the wrong side of its drive, because even if you drive onto the bridge correctly, if you drive on the wrong side on some of these bridges, you will clip into them and you will soft lock. Hence why it takes me almost 40 minutes to get out, 35 minutes to get out of here. But this is the first of many, many, many bridges. And fun fact about this one, there is the very last part of the level down there, and you can jump off and get back, land on your feet and be okay, but for some reason the level geometry just doesn't load. And there's a ramp that's meant to load to take you up to the final section, and it doesn't load, and you're just stuck down there. But it's there. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, essentially the drive there isn't too bad. The drive back is where the timers start getting a little bit tighter on us. We can actually fail due to timeout on the drive back, and that's mainly due to the drunk effect. So the drunk effect for this level is a lot of swirls, and whirls, while they're annoying, they can be combated. The biggest issue is you start blacking out randomly in the wheel, and that completely blacks out your screen. And so you kind of have to stop. But a lot of the bridges in this are slanted sideways, so they're like that, and you will essentially slowly slide off them if you're not driving fast enough. So your options are basically drive completely blind over a bridge, or fall off and or stop and hope you don't slide enough to fall off. So here's an example of one of the slanted bridges here. If I'm not constantly pushing to the left a little bit, I'm sliding to the right here. And here's another example of a great bridge with basically no fencing on it. And you can see here it is still pushing me to the left slightly. It's not too bad on the way over because you can see what you're doing, it's fine, but on the way back there are forced blackouts. And the game actually is at least semi-well programmed. It will have random blackouts and it will have random drunk effects, but it always tries to trigger a blackout on 3 separate bridges. Oh, are we stuck? No. Oh, that was close. My heart actually sank a little bit because I've never got soft lock there before. But that's the first time for everything, isn't there, game? So essentially that's pretty much all I have to say about this game. This vehicle, its handling isn't the worst out of the 3, but it's much sort of slidier. It feels like it's just got a little more of the ice physics applied to it. And it's also very heavy when you turn it. It doesn't feel as responsive turning. Which combination of sliding off bridges, vehicle feeling heavier, and feeling a lot more slidey means that, yeah, you do plummet to your death quite a bit. I wouldn't say your death, but the timer is tight enough in this level that if you fall off a bridge, even if it's a drivable section underneath, you won't be able to come back. You can just see there in the distance, you can see all the objects loading. That's at medium setting. At high setting, those objects just wouldn't load for some reason, and at low settings, those objects will load, but only when we're about a meter away or 6 feet away from them, kind of thing. This is one of the worst areas coming through drunk outside of the bridges. It's not that it's hard, but you can see all these little jagged groovy bits. You just physically can't see them at night time. And so what ends up happening is you end up just bouncing around, losing a ton of speed because you can't drive on the flat bit of the ground. And I guess you'll see what I mean when I get up to the drunk effect, because it is really hard to even see where you're going. Come on, come on. So, one of these fun bridges. Oh. Man, this is one of the worst bridges here. this is the area where I said we could have fallen down before. This is where it would have taken us to. However, that bridge there and the bridge coming up in the next bit do not load during it. But essentially now we just want to drive through this bit. See there just how floaty the car is. Oh, we were meant to take that shortcut between those two pillars, but the car decided to float to the left some more. So I'm making these absolutely tiny chain corrections, and as you can see, the car is just deciding to spin around. I mean, I am overcorrecting slightly there, too much more than I should be for this car, but in a normal driving game, the inputs that I'm putting in won't be. And this is the other bridge that just doesn't load if you fall down early. A nice big random open space with absolutely no idea why. Now I'm taking this wide on purpose here. Essentially what I'm doing is you lose speed going up this bridge. It's very, very small amounts of speed, but you will lose speed. And you can fall completely off if you don't correct for that. And don't give yourself enough ramp going up. But that's pretty much the scary bit. We've got just a little more driving, but that's most of the soft locks out of the way now. There's the giant wall of sandbags, because that's super realistic to have sandbags that big. So obviously they just took a sandbag texture and just blew it up to all proportions, because it's very pixelated the closer you get to it as well. And not really realistic at all. But hey, it's fun. Fits a level having a sandbag. Okay. So, I'm not going to call us home free yet, because there is 2 more spots we can get soft locked. But at least that I know of. There might be others that I don't know of, so. But essentially we've got 1 more bridge, a few more things to go. Like we are free. Oh, that feels good to one-shot that part. And this is the worst song as well. And you can see the drunk effect going into full effect now. So that was a blackout plus the swirl. Like I said, the swirl is kind of manageable. It's still obviously very hard to drive in, but it is kind of manageable if you just focus on a certain part of the geometry while it's swirling, but the blackout makes the game pretty much impossible to drive through. What I do is I focus on the front 2 wheels during the swirl and just try to stick them, keep them on the red wherever I can, wherever I need to. So there obviously I just drove on the path because I knew that was safe. But you see I hit a bump there that I can't even see. I can't even tell that there's a bump in the road because of the swirl effect. So we just kind of got to do our best to make it through this as we can. Essentially our next blackout should come when we come across the next bridge. And then they'll time it. Not every bridge has a blackout, but most of the bridges that matter have a blackout. Here's our we don't care bridge. If we soft lock here, it's not that far away, but jumping off there is a huge time save. Saves around 30 seconds and actually lets us get the level done, since we have to go a bit slower in other areas. And I'm assuming the developer timed this area with that skip in mind, since the timer is still fairly tight even with that skip. Okay. Managed to course correct myself there after spinning out. that won't always be the case. I don't really care for the grey effect doesn't really matter at all in terms of driving, because the road is distinct enough from the surrounding wall. But yeah. Okay. So this is one of the first bridges that is really hard to drive up, and as you can see I'm slowly losing speed, but I think I've just got enough in me and I'm going to make it to the top. Just. And I believe it's this bridge up here that gives me a blackout effect. And as you can see, they're completely unable to really see where I'm going at all. If I went at full speed, then I would have made it onto the bridge and then probably just ended up falling off completely. So I take the time to just slow down there and get through it properly. As bad as timing out in this level is, restarting at any point is just as bad, pretty much. We essentially just want to get through this level. Yeah, I would say this is the drunk effect I hate the most. The other ones are annoying, don't get me wrong, but they're nowhere near as bad as this. The other ones do have blackouts and things like that, but because this one has so many bridges that are just completely with no barriers, that's really not what I was trying to say. Because this level has a lot of bridges with no barriers, it's completely different. Blacking out in this level compared to blacking out in other levels. Blacking out in other levels is just a time loss, or you might hit a bit of terrain, but blacking out this level could mean a restart of the entire drunk section. Thankfully you don't have to do the sober section. They did put in checkpoints between each one, but yeah, that's the only checkpoint you get. You don't get any other checkpoint. Doesn't matter, that's a random one. We can just sort of, we hit something, but we're fine. We can just power through that blackout. Okay, coming up some bridges. I know there's a little more road first. So far, not too bad. But, you know, I'm always going to say that before I start raging at this game, and rage is inevitable with this game. Oh, I nearly soft locked there. I think I did soft lock here. Nope. Oh, my front tyre dipped. I saw my front tyre actually fall off then. But it was okay. So you can soft lock completely on this bridge. Great time for a blackout on a bridge. I can't see anything. I'm alive, thankfully. That was just prey at that point. If you come to a complete stop, you'll slide off the bridge. If you don't come to a complete stop, you might drive off the bridge. So I'm kind of just trying to tap the accelerator enough that I'm staying up on the bridge, and hopefully angled myself in a way that made it so I stayed up on the bridge. Tap, tap, good. Okay, that's most of the scary bridges out of the way. Now, there's still a couple of bad bridges like this one coming up, but not as scary as those. Oh, I'm really off the path here. Front of my car was in a completely different location. This one isn't too scary because you have this wall here that you can use as a way to line yourself up. isn't it? Oh, I nearly hit the left side of that bridge. Will soft lock you. A lot of level left to go though. If you can see the timer, I usually finish this level with about 60-70 seconds in tow, so there is a lot of level left still. Unfortunately, I wish the level was over now. I wish that was it. But so do all those who have to endure through hard times. As much as I butchered that Lord of the Rings quote there, gets the point across still. Okay, I need to slow down here because I'm really worried about that. Had I just ploughed forward then in the dark, I would have been off the edge. So, knowing these levels, it's not... You don't need to know these levels off by heart, I definitely don't, but knowing just bits and pieces of the geometry that's bad for you is a real plus if you are going to run this game. Please, for the love of all that is good, do not run this game. This is not a game that was ever intended to be speedrun, and yeah, I don't think it's a good speed game at all. No, that's it. Not even on one of the hard bridges. But that's what happens when I spend too much time talking and not enough time concentrating. So we are right back to the start now of that level. And have to do the whole thing again, including all the scary bridges. And that is why this game is so punishing. And I can't move properly. That's good. So having a soft lock right at the first part. Also, full soft lock, sorry. Soft lock is not the terminology I was looking for, but having a bit of undrivable terrain right in the main path on the first part of the level is really not good game design. Like, game design like this can be done well, don't get me wrong. Like, if you want to design a game that intentionally screws with the player and screws with their perception and tries to make it harder, then by all means do it, but make your level challenging in a way that makes the player responsible for their mistakes. Like bridges, great. Blackout effect is kind of punishing for the player. The player really doesn't have much control over it, but it is what it is. But just random bits of terrain completely soft lock you for no apparent reason, not great. And also your levels shouldn't be this long if they're this punishing. You should have a checkpoint system or something in it to give you some kind of feeling of, oh, thank golly gosh, I made it. That was nice and quick that time, which is good. Yeah, I think if this level if this game either didn't have a timer, had a more generous timer, especially in the later levels, or had a checkpoint system, I think I would be much more appreciative of it as a punishing game that is designed to hurt the player. Also, if this level had some bridges that didn't have barriers, but some bridges that did have barriers, I think that would be a better level design. I don't think your game should be hard because your screen goes black and the bridge you're crossing doesn't have any way to control how you're going. Either give the player a swell effect or give them a blackout. Don't give them both on the same bit of terrain. But that's okay. We're losing speed. We may not make it up here. Close. Legitimately, actually close. I can't see anything. Should not have tried to cross that bridge when that blackout effect took a hold, but just trying to save time there, so am nice stock again. Yep, okay. Round 3, and this is why I hate the desert level, because that's just a random bit of terrain that shouldn't have sock blocked me. I was essentially on the path, but just very slightly off it, and one of my wheels went up in the air, and that was it. One of the hardest things to do about this game is not get frustrated, because right now I'm getting frustrated and I'm gonna start making more and more mistakes here. So you have to take it back and just take a breather and just, yeah. It's so easy to say, okay, I'm angry at this game, I just want to quit kind of thing. But I can't. I want this world record back, mainly because one of my good mates owns it. And I really just want to take it off him so that he has to try to play this game again. That's essentially the whole reason I'm speedrunning this today. I do enjoy speedrunning bad games, but I've had my time with this game already. I'm essentially doing it because my friend always said he'd hold the world record. So when I took it off him the first time, he originally had a time of 3 hours and 10 minutes. I brought that down to an hour 51, and then he spent a longer period of time than he would like to admit, getting that down to 140, 149. What is that now? Oh, don't flip. Oh, come on, stop it. Okay, not the best landing, but we'll take it because I'm still alive. That's the main thing. No idea how the alcohol barrels didn't come off then, but you won't question the game design. We're going to black out again here. I can't see the level at all. So when you black out, you can still, if you look very carefully, you can still see like the lights. And the really bright areas of this level, but that's it. And the other part of this ramp that I hate is the fact that because it's such a steep ramp at the start and they didn't ramp it up, even if you hit it with a tremendous amount of speed, you'll actually just jump in the air and you'll lose most of that speed you would have otherwise gained anyway. That is really risky going over that. Should not have done that. Alright, we're going to black out any second now. Is this bridge we black out on? Yeah. Oh, I can't tell at all where I am. So nerve-wracking. And yeah, these are the worst parts here. Just because if you're going to make a road here, make a road. If you want to have bumpy bits in your terrain, have them not road coloured, like that one, so that the driver can actually play around and skillfully drive over the bits that they want to drive over and avoid the bits they should be avoiding, rather than just having bits of loose terrain that can easily send you back to a checkpoint. But who am I to lecture? I've never made a video game. I don't know how hard it is. I'm assuming this game designer did not spend a huge amount of time working on level. See, I can't even tell what I hit then. I can't even tell why I can't progress forward anymore. No idea. Must have been a bit of terrain that was sticking out, but if I can't tell that as a player, then your game is bad. Even with the drunk effect, I should be able to easily tell, based on the fact that you set out color coding. You set out red for the path and browny yellow for the non-path. One day I will one-shot this return home. One day. Actually, I hope I never do, because I hope this is the last time I ever have to play this game, and I hope that I set a record today and it's not able to be passed very easily by my friend, and therefore I don't have to come back and try to steal the record again. But we'll see. things could be worse. The main thing is I am playing a video game instead of doing something productive and enjoying myself to a degree, so that's okay. And even though I complain about this game a lot, I still, for all its bad level design, bad gameplay design, there's some part of me that still gets satisfaction out of playing this game. Even if it's just for the fact that I feel like I'm beating this game into submission, and that feels nice. This game punishes me, so I beat it into submission by actually playing it and beating it, rather than giving it up, as I'm sure so many people who probably purchased this game did. This game is notorious for being very, very cheap on Steam, and I'm pretty sure that's why it even got half of the purchases it did. I should have fallen off then. One of my wheels clipped off. My right front wheel did definitely fall off then, but thankfully I can't tell at all if I'm going the right way or the wrong way here. Yeah. Oh, so that was the way we came from. But yeah, this game comes up and it's sometimes as cheap as like 9 cents, so I'm sure people have bought it, and I'm sure it's come in packs before with people, and I'm sure someone's probably, some poor soul looking for a Need for Speed game might have even purchased this by mistake just because it's named Need for Spirit. And I hope that I do those people proud by beating this game into submission, but it looks like I'm going to be losing time with this split over my PB, which is not great because this is the place where I really wanted to make up some time here. Oh god, I'm swerving out of control here because I cannot focus on the ground properly because I didn't line myself up before that drive. And we are going to black out on this bridge for sure. This is one of the blackout bridges. Oh, no it's not. Okay. What that one was. I keep getting that one confused with the other one that's like that, the other sliding bridge. And I think the soundtrack for this game makes it even worse, and you cannot turn down the in-game sound. The volume sliders don't work. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. This game is essentially not finished. The volume sliders do not work for the sound effects at all. The level replay system or the continue system in this game does not work. It attempts to load, crashes, fails, and then takes you back to the title screen. So essentially, if we want to practice the third level, we're either going to have to come up with some kind of like save state mechanism, or we essentially have to get to the third level each time, which makes practicing the later levels, especially getting past this one for me personally, fundamentally not possible. I want to take it slow here because I have to make a turn and there is a sheer cliff on my left. So it would be nice if we had a level select feature after you finish the game the first time. That would just... I'm soft locked. I am soft locked, I think. I think one of my wheels just... Nope. Oh. One of my wheels did clip into the ground then, but thankfully, in one of the very rare circumstances where my wheel actually pops back out of the ground. I'm just holding my breath at this point, which is definitely not good for me playing this game, but yeah. A couple more bridges to go and we're home free. I don't think I'm going to hit anything on this path. You can clip into those gates very easily as well, and soft lock the game. What else? What else can we do? Excuse me for the cough. Need to have another drink of water, but I'm currently focusing on this silly game. We're almost home free. But we're not there yet. We never call ourselves home free till we're actually in the gates, because one of my failed runs, which never saw the light of day, you can get soft locked, and I mean completely soft locked by your wheel clipping into the ground, on the garage you're meant to drive into. So essentially my wheel clipped into the left side of the garage. The game didn't register that I was in the garage and I could not move at all. Essentially meaning less than a second away from finishing the level, I had to restart the entire drunk section. Come on, game. We are losing a ton of time with my PB. I was really hoping I could one or two shot this level because this level has always been my bane of my existence. Not my best effort, but it'll do. I'm driving my new Range Rover, and this is without a doubt the worst controlling vehicle there is. Out of the three vehicles we have, the Range Rover has the most amount of acceleration. I have no idea what its top speed is like, but its turning radius is utterly terrible, to the point where we will constantly be hitting walls and sliding. And this level also introduces an extremely tight timer. Like, I am worried just based on the amount of things we've hit already that I may not make this timer if I keep hitting things. The camera, even though I've got free cam on and I can zoom in and out, the camera is utterly shocking for this level because you cannot clip through the objects and look at them properly. They will constantly get in your way. Go here, up here. Is this the part where we sharp turn left? No. I cannot remember. It's been so long since I did this level, I cannot remember it properly. Oh, this is right, we go this way, but if we turn too sharply here, we hit that wall like I just did. But then the game, the turning circle of the Range Rover does really not allot itself to getting up here. Here is the sharp left here. Always pretty much hit that wall. I have not been able to not hit that wall essentially. Take it careful here through here, but at the same time we have to floor it, and that is the Range Rover soft locked again. What makes it worse is the camera always resets to the default camera in levels 2, 3 and 4, so you have to cycle through your cameras first, so you can't just take off straight off the gates here. Oh, that's a really good way to start. Let's just do that again. It's going to take me at least like 10 seconds to turn around then, and we don't really have time for that. Yeah, essentially every time I start a level I have to turn my camera, change my camera to the free camera and then scroll it out straight away. This is where I'm starting to feel like this level and the next level, essentially I feel like either the developer just did segmented runs or didn't actually play his own game, because these levels are just... The last two at least had some flow to them, and, you know, you got a general idea. This one is all about tight turns and corners, but the level geometry just doesn't a lot of self to that, and the Range Rover just does not really allow itself to be driven like this. It'd be better if we had car 2 and car 3 were switched around. So we had car 2 for this segment and car 3 for the desert section. That would be so much better. But we don't, so I'm going to deal with what we've got. Thanks for the coughing. We hit this wall like we always do. There is just no way to make that turn that I've found. Essentially you can slow right down to a snail's pace, but then it just becomes faster to do what I did. You need to go fast down this bit, this straight bit, but at the same time, if you do what I did and turn too early, then you will essentially get soft locked again here. This game. Their journey isn't that actually hard in this one, it's that. I need to slow down a bit more there, but if I slow down too much, I will fail because he will climb out in this mission. At this point I'm just going to keep going. Normally I'd reset there, but that's okay. Let's not get focused at the video game we're trying to have fun with. Let's just get through. Hey, I managed to get through that section nice and fast, but then hit this wall instead, so no real time loss or save there, but that's okay. Our goal is to essentially just beat the current record, which is nowhere near optimized either, and had a hell of a time on this level. I believe my worst level is level 2, and I believe the current world records holder's worst level is this level, so he spends a lot less time in level 2 than I do, but he spends a lot more time in level 3. He really struggles with the tight turning mechanics of this level, so let's smash it out this time and make sure it's the one that we want to see. Well, there we go, that's the fastest I've ever done that little bit. So I smacked a random rock which then propelled me into the wall. Then I smacked this rock anyway, lost all of my speed. And that rock too. Alright, let's take this a little bit slower, like we still need to fly through this part. Let's back off our speed a little bit as we come down this hill. But if we go too slow, we will just get soft locked again. So let's try to get through this bit. There we go. But now we really need to fly for it here because basically the rest of the level is very tight. There is just a series of turns that we need to make. There's walls up there so you can take a shortcut. It'd be really nice if you could take that shortcut. It would make the whole level flow a lot better than having to basically come to a standstill almost there, but his choice or her choice to, or their choice to put that there, I guess. So really need to fly here. Making sure not to make any sharp turns as we approach this, so our beige bow doesn't fly out. Stick to the right here to make sure we don't clip, and then drive through here. Oh, beige bow, let's do this. So, really good if we can finish it on this level. Did I also mention that the timer is really tight even for the journey there? They do give you more time on the return, obviously, for the drunk effect, but it's not like a substantial amount of time. Like you actually have to be going fairly pedal to the metal. Okay. Okay, apparently those two wheels sent me that far up into the sky. Thanks, game. That may be enough to make it so I can't finish this level. But we'll see. We're going to keep pressing on at this point because I don't know my time is enough to know whether or not I need to restart. Damn it, Bange Bover. This Bange Bover gives me a heart attack, man. Always do that with that turn because I feel like the level should go off there, but it doesn't. And yes, you can get soft locked in this little crevice if you're not careful. I always do it on that crevice and I always forget about it until it's too late. Essentially, it's just at the top of this hill and around a little bit the way we've got to go, but we've got 20 seconds left and I'm not confident here at all. Okay. We made it through. Bange Bover, section 1. And then we have have to go back. So instead of a drunk out effect, we get a red wine effect, which in my mind is nowhere near as bad. Are we soft lock range over? I can't tell. No, we are not. I'm meant to go round that way, but you can just drive there and it's much faster. This part is really just, you have to know where you're going while the red effect is on. You can't see the path. The path is not well lit in this mission. But yeah, you essentially saw I made it there with less than 20 seconds remaining, so we have to really push ourselves at this point. We have to go fast, but these corners do not really let yourself go fast that well. So we've got to find that perfect balance between speed and maneuverability that this game is not well known for. Essentially, every time we're backing up here, we're losing very precious seconds that we really can't afford to lose. Like, that was way too many seconds there. Didn't think I was online with that tree, but apparently I was. And now we go to the left side here, because the right side would soft lock us there. Now we apply the brakes very generously. Come around this corner. See how that train's sticking out on that left side there? That is another soft lock. Your wheel will just clip into that ground very easily. Trust me, I know I've spent a long time on this level. If I make it past the desert level, this is where I usually rage out and just quit this drive back home. My PB somehow managed to get it relatively quick, but that was pure luck more than skill. Every other time I've come into this level, I have just had absolutely absurd bad luck. But thankfully, this is about what I would actually like to see all the other levels be in terms of length. I think this is a really appropriate amount of my soft lock. Nope, I just missed that clip. Oh. But this is essentially, yeah, this is bad. I'm probably going to time out because of that. Because there's a few more places where I always bump my head anyway. But if you're gonna make a game like this that's designed to be punishing to the player, come on car, go up, go up. This is essentially the kind of level design in terms of length that I would think is very appropriate for the player. Oh no, I'm completely off course on it. This is not where the Bange Bover is meant to be at all. I can't even remember if this is the right way to go at this point. I got myself turned around a little bit. I think this is the right way to go. Yeah, no, this is the right way to go, thankfully, but... And as you can see, the Bange Bover just loves to get caught on nothing. We are moving forward here, but I cannot accelerate any faster than this. And if that wasn't the death of the run before, this will surely be now. I can't remember where I'm going at all. Yeah. No. Damn you, Bange Bover. I'm actually going to restart that again because I wasted a ton of time there having a drink. Because this game makes me sweat a lot because I'm not very good at it and because I get very stressed about it. Cool. And that's why that shortcut is not reliable either. So that's the shortcut I took the first time around, but essentially you can bump into it quite easily, and if you hit it at the wrong angle, you just don't go over, instead you soft lock. Alright, we're going to go around today, so let's see how slow this is compared to the last time I did it. And you also approach this turn at a really bad angle, meaning that, yeah, you're essentially going through two turns that are really, really bad. You need to come up here and then go to the right. over does not care if it's fully submerged into water. Unlike most cars, this one just does not care. No indication that you're meant to turn up there. That's just a pure memory thing, and the red filter going on right there makes it even harder, which makes me really think that that's intentional, that red filter at that point. Because essentially the red filter doesn't really bother you from driving, but it does make seeing like the track really difficult. Ooh, that was actually some nice bobbing and weaving there, car. Good job, Danger Bover. Before you ask, you can drive over that mound that was in front of me just before, however, it is got a invisible wall on it. Things feel like they're going a little bit better. I want to remember that I was 1 minute 7 at this point. Oh, I didn't go on the right part of that road. See how that shot me up like that. Yeah, my PB already finished this, which is kind of crazy. I think my PB2 shot this on the way back, and I was just ecstatic, obviously, because this is terrible game design, and I want no part of this. No, I'm not meant to be going up here yet. Frick. Come on, Danger Bover. Get around it. I'm not going to make the timer here, but I want to keep going at this point because I don't remember the course well enough. That's definitely going to kill me for making a timer though. Well, if that didn't this well, because I'm now soft locked. Yeah. Bange Bover. You are the bange of my existence. And it would come down to knowing this level more. And if this game had a level selector, we could practice this level a lot more sensibly. Come on, game. So you're meant to go that way, but you can just always path over this bit. That's fine. Normally it's fine. Apparently the game does not want to let me do that today, but that's okay. It's not the game's problem, that's mine to deal with. I can't see anything, there's a giant rock in front of me. No idea what the game decided to flip out there. I'm just looking at that timer, losing more and more time. It's going to be really hard for me unless I get at this run. It's going to be really hard for me to improve much on that old world record. I really wanted to get it down to like the low 140s here, but apparently not today. It's the statement that the game is going to give me. We always hit this rock because that rock is very mean, and then we've always got to go left here. I did not turn well that time around. Left side, and then we stick to the right side here. Too far to the right. Oh, too far, we're sliding out. Last time I bobbed and weaved really nicely through here. This time I smashed into every single rock possible. so it's just absolutely terrible. But hey, we managed to make it up this part this time, so that's good. But we are losing all the time we made up for in level in the first section of this. Let's stop looking at the timer though. I think that's just making me play worse, and let's just focus on where we need to be with our range over. Drive around here. Drive down. No, don't go that way. No, what am I thinking? Go this way. Oh, holy gosh. That's the reason I lose this level. I'm going to be salty as salt and vinegar chips, but that's alright. That's right. We drive through the foliage even though it looks like we shouldn't be able to drive through the foliage there. Come on. Don't do this now, Bange Bover. Get there, son. Come on, Bange Bover. Get there, son. It's the worst part. I can't control the camera enough as well to see what's like. I'd love to be able to scoot down and see what's coming up the hill. But the Bange Bover does not let you do that. I really thought I had to turn left there. Thanks, game, for great indicators you've got. We are really close to the level end now. I just need to really focus up here. Okay. Come on, game. Come on, Bange Bover. You can do this, son. Got my accelerator down to the max. Come on, Bange Bover. Make it there, please. God, doesn't have enough speed to get up here. Bange Bover, come on! You're right there! Oh my god. Last level, let's go. This one isn't actually too bad. The music is shocking. Thankfully, we're essentially back in car number 1 now. Barrier, I forgot about this barrier here. Really got to hit this at a certain angle, otherwise you just get stuck. There's really only one really bad section where you get soft locked in this level. Happens to me multiple times. Outside of that, it is just a lot of weaving, especially in this bit right here, so the start bit for this or the way home for the drunk section. Making sure I'm still recording, because God, I would be so salty if something happened to my recording right now, but that's okay, we are still recording. And yeah, this timer is one of the tightest I've ever seen, especially on the return home. That timer was tight there in the last level, but that's because I was not controlling the Bange Bover that well, but this timer is just generally tight for how precise some of these turns are. That one, you just physically, with the speed that I had, you physically just couldn't make it. I had to pull back more than what I did there. We've got some good movement coming through so far, and it's those impenetrable barriers, which are the real killer in this run. Essentially, those barriers on the way back are practically invisible thanks to the grayscale. So, and these sandbags, they do, some of them are real, some of them are fake, and I have no idea how to tell the difference between the real ones and the fake ones, but some of them you can drive over with no effects, and some of them will bump you and put your tyres up in the air, which essentially disables you turning while your tyres are up in the air. Even if it's a back tyre, for some reason and these are all front wheel drive cars, for some reason your turning is disabled a little bit. And here is essentially the first soft lock, right there. The amount of times I soft locked on that is insane. So we get to the bridge at 130, 135, I just want to remember that, this barrier. Just in case I'm coming back again, that'll at least give me some reference point. This level doesn't feel too long either. I think this level is a good length as well. It's a little bit longer than the forest level, but it is still a decent length, whereas level 2 is just way too long. I think that's why I struggle with it, like I've said before. I just lose focus on my objective after a while. But we definitely still want to be pedal to the metal right here, because there is still a lot of level. We've still got to we haven't even made it to the next town yet. We've got less than 2 minutes remaining. And yeah, I believe my PB did time out the first few times that I came through here. Granted, in my PB, that was the first few times that I'd ever seen this level, so... We soft locked due to my own stupidity of trying to go fast. But essentially we get just over 5 minutes in this level, so it's doable in under 5 minutes, so that will put us at a decent time if we get it done this time. The timer is just over 5 minutes that it asks me to go. Why do I always forget about this barrier? I'm just gonna always forget about that barrier. Always, always, always. I shouldn't, because it's one of the first batteries out, but you've got to hit it at a very particular angle to actually get through the first time. I don't know why I always forget about it. So this is the angle we actually need to hit it at. There we go, that's much, much cleaner. And essentially that's the worst part of the level outside of the jump. There's lots of little tight platforming through here, but essentially none of it's too bad. This, in my mind, is my favourite level because it's more about the player skill than it is about crap knocking you off the road or things clipping in. Yes, there are still stuff you can clip into here, but essentially a lot of this is just driving really well and controlling your vehicle a lot better, which is what I think is a good level design philosophy. If the rest of the game followed this level design philosophy, it would be much more fun to run. Because essentially it's a smooth road for the most part. I believe in the city later on it's not so smooth, but it's essentially, the city is a very minor part of this level compared to the highway to hell. Cause I'm on a highway to hell. Bange Bover is deciding, it's not Bange Bover, this is just the red truck, but it is deciding to spin out nasty. Could you imagine driving on this road though with this many sandbags, like in real life? It'd be an utter nightmare. I mean, I don't have a tall car either, so it'd be even worse for me. I'd actually having to be weaving instead of driving over these sandbags. pleasant driving, and the scenery in the background is it's not great, don't get me wrong. 152, that is a lot more time than 137 when I arrived last time. Don't get me wrong, the scenery and the level design in this area isn't great, but it is much better than the desert level. It actually has some variation to it, has some green, has the same tree over and over again, but at least the tree's slightly rotated. And there are bits of like green, bits of wall, like, you know, the level designer could have just made this road walls clean just to fit in with the other textures, made it grass all the way up, but it almost looks like they put some care into it because the traffic lights, at least in my mind, aren't evenly spaced, so therefore they would have had to be intentionally placed. Sorry about the coughing. Oh, Bange Boba, don't fail me now. This is not the Bange Boba, but I'm just going to blame the Bange Boba because the Bange Boba is the worst vehicle in the game. But I am worried about our time a little bit because we still have not entered the city, and I believe the city's like at least 40 to 60 seconds of this run. So we're going to be down to the wire again. And there's a fly landing on my left hand, which is really distracting. The fly decided to give me a break for a while, and now it's decided it's back again. Okay, so here's the city. This isn't that long of a section, but it can be annoying. It's very, very tight turns. Essentially, we kind of just have to hope we have to hit these handbags, use these sandbags to clip us, and hope we don't clip into them because we can't really make the turns in any kind of normalized time otherwise. Just kind of have to go for this at this point. 2 tanks here, 1, and you have to weave, even though the right side looks like you can drive there, you can't. I believe it's just around this corner, so I believe we're just gonna make it, yeah. And that always takes you back to the first loading screen. Again, that didn't load correctly. I just noticed the camera went all sort of funny. It says just 3 minutes, but you actually have like 6. Just over 6 minutes, but it is not a large amount of time at all through this level. Come on, Red Vehicle, you got this. Oh my golly gosh, that's never a good start to the level. This one does feature, I call them brownouts. They're not full blackouts like the second level, but they are still nasty. But thankfully, you cannot fall off any part of this level unless you're driving super fast into it. So 3:02 on the clock when we got there. I believe my PB was at 3:10, so that's worrying already. I lost like 8 seconds, and since I got in the door at 4 seconds on my PB, very worried, but my PB did make a lot of mistakes, especially near the end, moving through the final barriers and such. So we'll see how we go. The rest of the drunk effects in this level, outside of like that random complete blackout, then are really not that bad. The techno color is kind of an interesting vibe. So everything's like super illuminated at the moment, and then it'll go back to grayscale. So it's kind of weird, but it's really not that bad of an effect, to be honest. I do appreciate the extra 60 seconds they give you in this level. That's all they give you though. They give you 60 seconds to cope with all of these drunk effects. Considering I made it around this drive in one motion, that's always a time loss. Flies on my elbow and it's really distracting me now. but we're doing a speed run, so I have to just let it go. So you can soft lock here if you go too fast as well, so we're going to slow right down and we're just going to hop up over that. I think my PB soft locked like 3 times to that jump because I just could not get it. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Am I completely soft locked? I mean, I can move, but no, I don't have any traction left in my wheels, so that's a soft lock. Go away, fly. I don't mind this song. It's not the worst one out of all of the songs that they have, but it's definitely not a good ending song to me, at least. Let's try not to get any trash piles this time around. Get ourselves turned around. Nearly hit that one. Kind of it went a little too hard on that corner. I know we have to brake there normally, so. But this time we hit the road at 313, so already better than my 303 from the first attempt. Essentially, I don't mind the brown out there because I can still see the edges of the road. I can kind of guesstimate my position based on those edges of the road, so it's not as bad as a full blackout. But I mean, this swirl definitely doesn't help you drive. It's just hard for taking. It's really not that bad on a lot of the corners. It's just when you have to corner left, right, like. Here, if it would have swirled badly, I'd be okay because I can kind of guesstimate, but it's when I have to turn left and turn right. And Technicolor time. This is the corner we span out on, so let's just take that a little bit easier. Popping again. We're going to spin out this corner instead today. Okay. Like I said, they only give you 60 seconds extra, and your vision is very impaired in this one, so still not as bad as level 2, but yeah. You don't have anywhere near the amount of time that you did in level 2 to really just take it easy and go slow. You've pretty much got to hammer to the max, and that fly is probably going to be the death of this run because it just distracted me, and I'm soft locked again. That fly is just ruining my time because it is just bouncing all around in front of my field of vision, crawling my arm, making me sort of twitch for a moment. And this game already has very, very touchy controls, so twitching for like even a second is just not great. I'm already going to hit the sandbag there, so I'll just start braking, readjust myself, go away, fly, get off my fingers. You've got all this room to land in, and you decide to constantly keep just buzzing in front of me. Alright, we're definitely losing time here, that's for sure. Let's see how much time we actually lose here. On the road at 310 this time instead of 313. Okay. Thank you, honey, very much. Very nice of you. Say hi to the camera. Beautiful wife just brought me some food and a cup of tea, so hopefully the fly will be attracted to part of that food. I won't eat that food when the fly's on it, but at least it will stop landing on me constantly. It's all on me whether or not I get this record now. Like, I am so far ahead of the world record at this point, but I am constantly sliding out and just making huge mistakes. I need to stop that. This is such a waste of time, what I've done now. I managed to get through those gates without breaking, so who knows. But still, not great. My car's fishtailing through here, which is never great. We hit nothing apparently. On bridge at 310. Whoa! Game! We should lose our vision coming up this hill to go on the Technicolor soon. That's a little bit early actually for Technicolor. Let's just pull ourselves back a little bit here. We're trying to go fast because I know the time is tight here, so I'm trying to go fast, but at the same time I am just losing any hope I have of a run by trying to go too fast around these corners. They can't take how fast I'm taking them. I think when I start to feel myself, why are you crawling on me? There is delicious like cake and sweets right in front of me. I think when I start fishtailing, I need to like bring the brakes up pretty quickly rather than trying to do what I do and just keep correcting, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. These barriers are so hard to see, you've got to keep an absolute eagle eye out for them in grayscale mode. Made it to the bridge at 212. I cannot remember what we made it at last time, but I don't think it was this fast. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Come on, game. Come on. This is the same spot. No. I'm losing this record. I need to just take it so much slower there than I do. There's just no question about it. I just take it way too fast around that corner and I always spin out. I know where it is too. Because it's such an obvious place. That's kind of okay. It wasn't as bad as fully getting stuck there, I guess. Oh. That is really bad though. That is one of the worst turnarounds I've got for this section. Okay, we're just going to go again at that point. I'm sweating now. Why am I sweating over this game? Mainly because I just want to take the record back to force my mate to play this again. And we're doing all of this just so someone has to play this game again besides me. Could have just left it as is. I could have been happy with my second place. We've all had a good day, but no. I want it to be a little bit vindictive and make my friend play this game again. Not too far on the left here. Yeah. By the left I meant the right, but my brain just went left, yeah. Because I needed to turn left. I'm thinking left to myself and then, yeah. Anyway, there's a hint into my thought pattern. On the bridge at 311, that's okay. Can go faster, but I will take that any day of the week because I know it's possible from here to get to the end obstacle that is not meant to be that hard. To be perfectly blunt with you, that obstacle that I've been now caught on twice is actually not one of the hard obstacles at all in this game, and I don't know why I'm failing that. I'm just swinging too fast through there and causing myself issues. I think that's what a lot of this game comes down to. Let's see, Technovision, Technovision. Because there's a time limit, you feel that constant pressure on you to go fast and try to push, and mistakes come from there. Like, yeah, you should be pushing anyway in a speedrun, you know, regardless, but that timer up there just makes you so much more pressured. Like, if the timer didn't exist, I reckon the speedrun for this would be easily under 130. But pressure is a hell of a drug. Ramp soon. More barriers to pass, I believe, and we've got the ramp. That barrier, this barrier, so we're behind where we were a couple of turns ago, especially with a turn like that. That was shocking. So we hit this at 2:11 last time, so now let's get past this bit. Okay, please. Hit the tank again, but this time we're not going to make massive corrections, we're just going to make little corrections till we get there. Nice to get some clawback in the level, just not because that makes it any easier, but just because this is a great screen and it's very boring to look at after a while. Imagine if this, oh, there's a barrier there, I think I hit that on my TV and got stuck for a few seconds. Could you imagine though if they instead decided, instead of making their own unique drunk filter for this, like the Technovision to the grayscale, could you imagine if they just decided we're just going to throw in all three random drunk effects from the last three levels? That would be absolutely horrendous. The swirlies in this level would be, without a doubt, some of the worst thing. And then you have the blackout, because you can drive over these barriers, like they're there to prevent you, but you could easily drive over them. Yeah, the whole thing would just be a mess. Glad I braked there. I wasn't going to, and then I'm like, no, I need to brake. I'm sliding too much out of control. I'm going to brake around here a little bit just to get the turning angle right. Barrier there, nearly hit it. I was drifting too much. Yeah, definitely not home yet, just because we've hit all the trucks. It takes you about a minute when you're sober to get through this area, so we're drunk, so things are needed to come at this wider. This was a mistake. Oh, I need to back up a little bit and come at this at a wider angle, otherwise I'm not going to get through. Oh, I thought I was soft locked in because I couldn't move for a few seconds, but thankfully I managed to wiggle out. Don't have a huge amount of time left, but I am drifting left, right and centre. Remember this barriers here and it needs to be taken sharply. No. Focus. Please, for the love of golly gosh, just focus. We're not home yet. And time. 1:35:44. Not sub 1:30, but I will 100% take that. And Punk Shifter, if you're watching this, I am so sorry from the bottom of my heart, but you're going to have to play Need for Spirit Drink Drive Simulator again. I'll catch you all next time. Thanks for watching.